Hi friends, I thought maybe we would take a little cocktail garden tour, the very first one for plants and Prosecco. So I've got myself a glass of, this is actually a cupcake with a splash of crayon in it, but I'd love for you to pour yourself the drink of your choice and join me and walk around my yard. So I thought we would start in the top corner of our yard with this sad little patch that, believe it or not, is less sad than it was when I moved in here a few years ago. So that over there, I can get close to it, is a peony. And y'all, I have such complicated feelings about peonies. I know they're gorgeous. I know they smell good. I just think they're such a hot mess, and they're just so not worth the work. I don't do cut flowers. I don't do any of that stuff. So I just struggle with them. My boyfriend loves them. They were here when they moved in, and he has this thing about he has no interest in plants that require maintenance, basically. And so if it was here when he moved in and it survived all this time, he's very, very attached to it. So that's what this is. It's I haven't actually come out here. I don't know if it looks like it got some blooms. It's terrible that I didn't even come back here to check and see if it bloomed this year. But this Bradford pear that is right here, this monster of a tree, I hate it. It's the only shade we have in this back corner for our dogs, which is the only reason that we don't. That's our kind of yard waste pile right there, that very pretty pile of things. And every year it does this. So you can see kind of back here, it does this, like, it grows like a weed, and I have to get in here with the loppers and go all Rambo on it, and I haven't done it yet. I did some of it, that's why there's some brown leaves back there on the inside of the fence, but I haven't come out here and really given it a hack job like I normally do every year. And it does provide a little bit of shade for our dogs. Otherwise I would chop it down, because this guy over here, which we're trying to train to kind of go this to the right here, it wasn't planted close enough to the fence. So what they really needed to do was plant it closer to the fence and then train it to crawl the fence, but they didn't. And I know it doesn't look like much now because we're in mid-July, but in April, when it starts to get warm here, we're in zone 7B in Tennessee, this is the most gorgeous rose plant. It's a vining rose plant. It has no thorns, which I love. It smells amazing. And it's just got these beautiful, like, pink, very bright pink too. Not a delicate pink, not like a magenta, but like just a very true pink. So I came out here earlier and actually pruned back a lot of the dead. The problem up here, I gave it some fertilizer, but the problem up here is it's not near water. And so I'll come out here and water the front yard, and I'll totally forget to come up here. So right now it's just in survival mode, and it'll be fine. It's been here, like I said, my boyfriend loves the plants that are surviving without his help. So the offshoots are starting to crawl through the fence, and they have some healthy leaves on it, so I think that's maybe what's sustaining it. I'm gonna come up here and water in the fertilizer I gave it earlier. But yeah, so this is the top corner of our yard. Our yard is sort of, you'll see here, so it's sort of terraced. This is the back corner, and my plan for this space eventually right here is I want to put pavers here. Nothing grows here. We mulched it last year. And nothing grows here. It just kind of retains a little bit of water, so the mulch is helping with that. But I would like to put some pavers and create like a little nook. Like, you know, really this would be a charming space if he would let me cut this tree down. It would be a charming place for a greenhouse. But since he won't let me cut the tree down, and it's a great place for a very shaded kind of like nook to come have chats with you guys, or, you know, just put a little bistro set out here, that kind of thing. So that's going to be, I think, maybe my fall project is just to kind of look at this space. It gets mostly shade, you know, put a little maybe 10 by 10 square of pavers and put a little bistro set, and just kind of use it as a chill spot. I can hide out here. The dogs can still see me if they want to come, you know, come up and say hi, and it's quiet. And you know, sometimes you don't want to talk to the neighbors, so that can be nice. And I say that with love because we love all of our neighbors so much, but sometimes you just want to come outside and kind of enjoy your yard and not have to be social. So this is so we mulched you can kind of see the lines. So we mulched all the way over to this retaining wall here, and we need to come out and weed this. We've been working on weed management this week, and this is just like last on our list because this is not an area we use, but this is a big box elder maple. And the reason we know it's a box elder is because everything ends up covered in box elder bugs in the spring. So this is our junk pile that normally you can't see, but I just ripped up a bunch of sunflowers from the sunflower patch next door. So this is the top of our terrace, so there's no garden. There's a maple, and there's another Bradford pear that I don't hate quite as much because it doesn't try to shade out everything and go Rambo and weedy on me. Let me just walk down here. So when I moved in about two-ish years ago, this was basically just all blank space. So there was not a single plant on this whole terrace here. And when I moved in, that was sort of my contribution to the value of the house, is I basically took and landscaped everything. So what we did is we went up to a local nursery and we bought, so there's 3 azaleas, and these are not the everbearing or I forget what they call them. They're like, I can't remember what they're called. I'm trying to think of what they're called, but they're the kind that bloom twice. These are not the kind that bloom twice. So these bloom in the spring, and they're gorgeous, and they're 3 different colors. This one is like a very bright purple. One of these is like a coral orange color, and one of these is a really beautiful red. I think that's how it goes. Might be pink and coral red, maybe that's what it is. But they're very, very pretty. I've had issues getting plants to grow in the middle. So my project this year was kind of to plant, and last year really, was kind of to put things in between these bushes, because there was we thought the bushes would fill in more and they haven't. So I did have, from last year, I bought some mums in pots. Is that last year? Actually it was the year before, because I had the mums, I had potted up the mums from the year before into pots, and then I wanted the pots, I'll show you, the pots are actually over here. I wanted the pots for something else. And so I put them in the ground. Well, I think just because of our cold snap, they didn't come back this year. So, because I have a couple mums that did come back, I just think either I cut them down or they got damaged by the frost because we had that weird cold snap. So this is actually a dwarf lamb's ear here. I'm not entirely certain I like there, but for now it's fine. We'll see. They're supposed to get, I think it was like, they're not supposed to be real wide, but they're supposed to get to be about 4 or 5 inches tall. It's like 12 inches wide. And I had 2 of them that I bought at the nursery. I was going to pot them, and I didn't end up having room in the pots I was making up. So these are all of our azaleas. So I had bought these cute little buckets, and I have one of these in the back too, and they've both got nasturtiums in it, which I bought from plant this year, which I will not do again. Next year I will buy them and plant them from seed, because I didn't know anything about them. So just kind of want to get a feel for a plant. I'd rather not try it all the way from scratch. But it just when it got hot, so it was small but happy for a little while, and then it took off in May when it started to warm up a little bit, and it was still kind of temperate here. And then when we started getting those weird 90-degree days, we got a week of rain and then a week of 90-degree dry days, and it just fried this plant. And I came out and took a lot of it out. And it's rebounded quite a bit. There were actually blooms on it here not that long ago, but it's rebounded quite a bit. But yeah, it looks a little scraggly now. The one in the back does too. It looks better. But so these are the mums I bought last year. So the mums I bought the year before, I think these were originally the purple ones, and then last year I bought white. So these are white, and they came back beautifully. They've actually got a ton of buds on them. So when it starts to cool down, probably in about a month, and by cool down I mean get back into the 70s and 80s, it'll bloom, and it'll bloom all the way into September. So that'll be pretty. So then the next 3 bushes, we did 3 sets of 3 with the length of this. So this right here and this right here are actually the same kind of knockout rose. I think this one gets more sun, and I think that's why it's a little happier than this. They get the same treatment, same water, same everything. I just think that one gets a little bit more sun. But I keep them deadheaded, which you don't have to do with knockout roses, but they seem to be happier when you do it. And then this one in the middle, which tragically doesn't have any blooms on it, and it's actually looking a little bit like it's got some rust on it, so I need to look and see if that's what this is, because none of my roses have ever had diseases, but this one I can't tell if it's just like heat and water stress or if it's actually having a problem. So I really need to look and just make sure it doesn't have any kind of diseases. But I just deadheaded it this morning, otherwise it would have at least a few semi-spent blooms, but it's a very pretty kind of pinky coral color. That looks really pretty. The Nepeta I actually cut back this morning. Nepeta is an aphid deterrent, so I planted this as a companion plant to the roses, and I wish I could put more of it out here because they had rose aphids so bad this year. But this one, it's starting to get a little bright out here, guys, so I'm sorry about that. But I was trying to catch us on a cloud cover point in the day because it's kind of been on and off all day, but it's that beautiful kind of fuchsia color. I can't see where I'm pointing, but that kind of fuchsia back there, that's the new blooms. And then I did come out and deadhead this one, so there's some semi-spent blooms. And then I planted 3 of these last year, so I planted 3 torch lilies. 2 were the same color and then 1 was a different color here, and that is the only one that made it even past the summer. They didn't even survive the summer, and this one actually came back, which I was shocked about, because considering how not hardy those were, I was totally convinced they were just not going to come back. But this one has come back, and it continues to bloom, because last year it was like I got them from the store, I put them in the ground, and they never bloomed again. So I'm quite happy with how this one has come out. And then these are my pride and joy. These are my hardy hibiscuses, and they bloom for they've been in bloom now for about 2 weeks, and they'll bloom pretty much through July, and then they won't bloom again until next year, and I wait all year. They are glorious. Let me see if I can find, they're starting to close up for the day, even though it's still sunny and hot out, but, and you can see all this, like, look at all the blooms, and they're just this gorgeous pink color, but they are just huge. Like, you can see they're the size of my hand. They're just gorgeous. They make a huge mess because their blooms are so big. Like, you can see all this detritus that's falling around here. And then these pitiful little guys, I don't know if they'll make it through the season, and I don't know if they'll come back next year, but we'll see, because I started them really late, but I started them in the ground. So that is actually an artichoke. And I thought that might be a good plant right here. It was like a globe purple blend, so I have no idea which variety ended up here, but there's another one over here. And that one's looking a little bit more pitiful, and it's being encroached upon by this one a little bit more. I wish I would have moved that over. I probably centered it to the stems because they weren't in bloom. These actually get cut. You'll see in the fall, these actually get cut all the way back to the ground. So they just look like dead stumps for most of the winter. And then this also was not here. So this little corner right here, the water runoff is actually in the middle, which is why there's a big empty spot. But I've had a hard time just because this gets just full sun. It gets no relief all day, every day. So I've had a hard time finding plants that can survive, that are drought tolerant. Even some Shastas I've had a hard time keeping up here. But I'm really, really pleased with I finally think I don't have to put anything up here. I won't have to replace anything. So the phlox I actually just cut back. It kind of got hit hard by the heat, but it did look like this one over here. And then, so this is a shorter Shasta. These are all Shasta daisies, but they're just different varieties. So I love these taller varieties in the back, and then this sort of short one here. And then these are daylilies that have been in the ground now. I think this is their 3rd season, and they just bloomed this year. We have never had blooms on those, and they've been just this gorgeous kind of buttercup yellow that's just so pretty. So I don't know if we'll get any more blooms on the phlox this year. Sometimes they like to just be green like that. I have a bunch of phlox all over this yard. That's the other peony. I need to come out here and clean it up some more. That one we put a ring around because it just like flops over into the street, and believe it or not, my boyfriend actually hates that stupid ring, but it's the compromise that I don't just dig out the peonies. So, and he's been out here. This is his area of the yard he takes ownership for. So he's been out here weeding. That's what all this Bermuda is. This whole section, just the Bermuda takes over, and it's crazy. Whew, it's starting to get warm out here, guys. All right. So we won't pay any attention to that very sad mosquito plant hanging up there. It just doesn't get enough sun. So the tops of it are happy, and they're such a water suck. And they're aphid attractors, which I did not know. They deter the mosquitoes and attract the aphids, and I just can't because there's too much in this yard that aphids like. And believe it or not, we haven't had that much of an issue this year. So I think we're just going to let the whole idea of mosquito plants go. This is a yellow rose, and there's actually blooms on it. It's gorgeous, and it blooms like tons and tons of blooms. You can see it's this really pretty dusty yellow color. And it's huge, and I have to cut it back. I've actually cut it back twice this year. So I cut it back at the beginning and kind of shaped it, and then I've kind of let it do what it wants to do. But then it looked like it was getting a little bit of a disease down here, where you can kind of see where that is. And so I cut that back, and then I also try to keep it just out of the driveway, just because, you know, the cars can kind of scrape at it. So the other landscaping bit I added when I moved in was this whole pathway row right here. So and I've also had a hard time finding plants, because the first year I did annuals, and it takes so many annuals to fill this area. And yeah, they're not that expensive, and yeah, I could start them myself, but I've gotten to the point now where that's not where my joy lies in the garden. It's not my jam. I like to plant them, maintain them, and, you know, I'm happy to take care of them, but I don't want to be constantly putting new plants in the ground. I like to just enjoy them year after year. So I actually just put these 3 in right here. So this is buzzy flying around me. This is a type of bee balm. Excuse me. This is an aster, and it's looking pretty pitiful. I think it will come back. I have a rule about not planting anything in July, and I think I literally planted these on June 29th. So I think it's just stressed. You know, it was transplant shock, and then it's been, you know, super, super hot. So I've just been keeping it moist so it's not struggling for water. So I think it'll rebound. But we'll see. And then this over here, this really pretty one, I think is a type of echinacea. Oh my gosh, it's getting so bright I can't see anything anymore. But yeah, I like it. And the thing I'm most looking forward to about those, and I may actually fill out, so this empty space right here, we're leaving empty because we're gonna have our septic drained. And I was worried about putting plants there and then having to dig them back up. So, but these are supposed to have really pretty fall color. And if they do end up having really pretty fall color, I think I will probably end up planting more of those, because I like that idea of, you know, kind of multi-season interest. I'm not sure if this is a phlox or a coneflower. I've tried so many bare root plants up here, and at this point trying to keep track of what's come back, because we're 2 or 3 seasons in at this point, I don't know. It's super happy there, whatever it is. And then this is a coreopsis, and I've been keeping it deadheaded, and it's finally kind of slowed down on new blooms, just because it's been so hot. I'm honestly surprised the dianthus is still trying. That's what that is. So there's another coreopsis. I'm barely certain this is another phlox, but it could also be a coneflower. These are actually, so I planted these from bare rootstock this year. There's 3 of them. There's another one up there. They are hardy carnations, so we won't get any blooms on them this year. Sorry, it is getting so bright out here, guys. But then these are tall phlox. You can see them all right here. And then on this side, I have the only dahlia that I've been able to successfully keep. This is a Toto dahlia. They kind of look like there are tons of buds on them, so I think it'll be in bloom and it'll be pretty here soon. But the other one I planted didn't survive the winter, even though I had them in the garage. So they're kind of white with little yellow centers. They almost look like daisies. It was very pretty. I'm a Wizard of Oz fan, so that's why I got them. It was a Wizard of Oz dahlia. And then these are actually the pots that the lambskin didn't fit in, and I'm so pleased with how they turned out. So there are two different kinds of chicks and hens here. This is a type of sedum, and then this is a proven winner salvia. I think this is the pink one, and then I have the purple one down on the end. I did the pots the same, just the salvia is a different color. This is our Rangpur lime tree, which we were not supposed to get. We were supposed to get a Persian lime tree, but they told us to keep this one for sending us the wrong one. They're supposedly sending us the right one. And it's been super happy since I transitioned it outside. We're gonna turn this, just so you know why this area looks like this. We're gonna turn this into a porch. So we're gonna actually extend out. From here is where the end of the porch is. We're actually going to extend it all the way out and go all the way down, but he was digging for to find the access to the septic tank. He did not find it, but has not filled it back in. But so I got tired of dealing with the weeds and having no plants out here, so I found some landscape fabric that we put here, because we're gonna have to wait at least another year, if not two, because there's just no reason for us to pay a premium for wood right now. So so there's my lime tree. You can see I'm so happy with it. It just looks so healthy. They shipped it beautifully. I just wish it was the right tree. And this is my green stalk. So I jumped on the green stalk train. I don't have the top three. I'm growing strawberries from seed, and they're not quite ready. So only planted up the bottom two tiers. But I have, these are actually a bush variety of peas from Baker Creek. These are bush beans, probably the Kentucky pole if I had to guess, but I can't remember. And then these are both the Proven Winners Buried Treasure Pink. And then these are, I'm going to have a video about these. These are actually bare root currants, and there's a whole story behind those, but I did see, though, I was really convinced they were dead, and this one, actually, let me see if I can get close enough. You can just see has a little bit of green, so at the very least maybe one of these will survive. This is a Jackby Little Pumpkin. I'm trying squash, and this is sort of more of an experiment than anything else because our garden plot has so many pumpkins right now. But this is a Jackby Little Pumpkin that I put in a grow bag, and then this is I don't think this is a fall gold. It is a yellow raspberry, but I don't think it's a fall gold raspberry. I can't remember what the variety is, but it is a yellow variety. It might be a yellow Ann, now that I'm thinking about it. I think it's a yellow Ann raspberry, and it seems to be happy up here. I'm glad that these are up here in this heat, even though they're direct sun plants. They seem pretty happy, I think, just because it's been so hot. And then this is the other identical pot. And then this is the other carnation, and this one's actually a little happier. See, now it's so bright and my shadow's getting away. I think that's another phlox, another dianthus. And then I had this very pretty row, I'm gonna enjoy the shade here for a second, of oxalis right here. And you can see my green oxalis in the pots is happy. I might actually pop those in the ground right here and take those pots inside. Just because they're hardy here, and there's no reason to waste pots on those if they'll be happy, and they'll just fill in this area. They like the shade. But I think they got sun scald. I don't think this is a disease. I think they actually got sun scald when we got all that rain, and then they are more of a shade plant. Like you can see the ones that are used to getting direct sun didn't get sun scald, but all of these ones back here, I think they just bleached out. So I hope it doesn't kill the bulbs. I'm leaving it for right now in hopes that, you know, it'll take whatever it needs back into the roots and it'll come back up next year. But if it doesn't, I'm going to have to plant new bulbs, I think, because I really like this right here. It's been a really good border. And then these are what are left of our alliums. There's a little Dutch garden. There's actually a little Dutch garden right here. So there are no tulips. All my tulips are actually over on our terrace. Kind of, they go to about there. And I'm going to fill all the rest of that in next year and see if we can't get them all the way along. But daffodils don't seem to do very well here, so I don't think I'll do any more daffodils. But there are some daffodils here. There's some crocuses that I'm fairly certain the squirrels have eaten most of, so I don't know if those will come back next year. There's some coneflowers, some Oh man, I can't think of what else is out here. There's just a lot. There's a lot of bulbs in this little space. There's probably 100 bulbs right here, and they grow this way as the season goes on. So at some point I'll be able to hack all this. This is getting pretty close, but the pollinators really love these, so I haven't, I haven't cut them back yet. But it looks like they're starting to go to seed. So, and then this guy over here is a gardenia that about 2 weeks ago also had the most gorgeous fragrant blooms on it, and just because of the heat it's not blooming anymore, but they're evergreen here and they get beautiful foliage on it. You can kind of see, sorry, I need to actually take a sip of my Prosecco, but you can kind of see that it's just got this beautiful green foliage on it. So the foliage is all in really good shape. They're just stressed because it's hot. And then this guy does this when it gets hot like this, but it blooms this kind of bright blue, dusty purple color. And then it kind of goes to this kind of greeny white with a little bit of blue and pink when it gets hot and stressed. But it's just the most gorgeous hydrangea, and it's definitely been here since way before my boyfriend bought this house. And definitely predates me, but I've now cared for it and it's flourished since I cut back all the old wood every year, with, that dies off. And then this hydrangea blooms on, I think, just old wood. So you have to just kind of, prune it. I'll do a pruning video at some point, because this one needs kind of specific, and a lot of hydrangeas need specific care. And then these daylilies I planted a couple years ago too, and they are just now blooming. They've got new bloom pods on them. We're catching everything in like this weird in-between time, except the hardy hibiscuses. But they're really pretty. They're like kind of like a purpley red. And then the phlox has basically bloomed until it got really hot, and now the foliage is really healthy. So that dead you see down there is just where the blooms were. And so they've just kind of gone evergreen, and they're putting on new growth, and the new growth looks all really healthy. So something's been munching on it a little bit, but not enough for me to worry about it. And then this is a hardy geranium, and this one seems pretty happy here, and it's put on the most blooms this year that it has ever put on. Sorry, that's our air conditioning you're getting ambient noise from. And then this guy is the same thing, planted at the same time, but it was in a different area, and it's bigger here. There's so many weeds. I'm so sorry. You guys are gonna laugh. Like, this is our problem child area, but there's more leaves here than it ever had in the 2 years it was in the other spot. So this right here, this is where all my pretty summer, spring and summer bulbs. So there's hyacinths that go kind of back here, and then there's a row of gladiolas that you can kind of see here. There's a row of gladiolas. There's a row of irises. The irises are already gone. The gladiolas are getting ready to be done. The lilies are all different kinds of lilies, so they bloom at different points. So you have this just beautiful guy here that is so gorgeous right now. And there's another one over here. But then some of them are already spent, like the tiger lilies are already spent. That's actually what those two in the front there were the tiger lilies. But there's just so much weeding that needs to get done here. Even the lavender is stressed. It's lost a little bit of its color this year, I think just because it's so stressed. But I cut this back pretty severely early in the season, and it's really rebounded. So I think it'll benefit from some pruning again at the end of the season. But yeah, this is mostly weeds. This very pretty evergreen looking right there is periwinkle. We're trying to get that to take over, which it's doing a pretty good job of up here. We still have a lot of the weedy violet, but yeah, we're working on it. I've got some creeping Jenny. I'm going to start at the bottom, and we're going to see if we put the creeping Jenny here and the periwinkle here, if we can get the two to meet in the middle and kind of stress everything out. And then these are hawthorn bushes that have never really been happy since we moved them. They were so happy in front of the house where all that landscape fabric is up there, and they've never really truly been happy here, but they are rebounding a little at least. And then these are actually hostas that I'm guessing are some kind of Princess Wu variety, at least these three. The variegated variety I'm not actually sure about, because those two down there, and then there's that one. That's a pumpkin spice plant. That's a coral bell. That's some kind of, we got these from his mom, divided a bunch at her house and gifted them to us. Most of them are happy. We think, I'll take you over to our neighbor's property here in a second because I have a garden over there too. But these two down here are pretty unhappy. We think they get just a little bit too much sun, so I think we're going to put them under her tree. And then the up there where that big weed patch is actually where my widow's tears are, and they fried in the heat, so I hope those will come back next year too. But then we hardscaped half of this because we had left over from the corner, which I'll take you down to here in just a second. We put the rest of what was left from our corner hardscaping up here, but I really like the way it looks, so we may have to go get another scoop, but another scoop will be way more than we need to do this area, but we shall see. So to finish out the front yard, the other area we landscaped, and this was actually an area that my boyfriend specifically requested I landscape, because it's hard to mow around. So as long as it's, convenient for him. I've got some more salvia down here. These are not the Proven Winners variety. These are a Monrovia variety, I believe. So I have 2 salvia, 1 on each side. And then I had 2 of these silver mound plants, Artemisia, and they're gorgeous and they're huge. And, I cut those back all the way to the ground. But right after I did that this year, we got all that rain and then it got so hot, and they are super drought tolerant. This had foliage on it all the way through the winter, even with our cold snap. But it just, something it didn't like. I don't know if it got rot, whatever, but that one died. So I've propagated this one and I've got one started, and I'm hoping I can transplant it in the fall so it can be even again, because I finally got 2 plants down here that like the drought hardiness, because I almost never touch anything down here. So, all right, that's our front yard. And basically, I'm going to take you guys and show you where my vegetable garden is. So I will see you in the backyard. Sorry, we had a puppy photobomb there for a second. My boyfriend was out walking the dog. So this is a kaleidoscope butterfly bush, and it desperately needs to be deadheaded so that the new blooms can come through. They get it doesn't get super consistent water, and because of that, the blooms have not been great this year because we've had such a dry summer, dry and hot. So we just got a bunch of rain. If I come out here and deadhead it, I'm hoping it'll push some new growth. So that's definitely a project there, because the pollinators, especially the hummingbirds, love this thing. And then I actually gave one to my neighbor that's growing right here. So this is first year growth. It's just at the top of their fence. It was probably, I don't know, a foot tall little stick when it started, and it's got probably 5 or 6 stalks on it now. So they're easy to grow. They'll thrive in the worst of conditions. You just have to make sure you cut them back every year, because they are invasive and they will grow into a tree if you don't cut them back every year. So this one actually gets cut back to about here, a little between 1 and 2 feet, depending on where the new growth is. So, and then this over here is a scarlet maple, and I bought it because I thought I was being sweet, and my boyfriend had this very fond memory of the red maple in their front yard growing up, and it turns out it's only red in the fall. The one he had growing up was actually red all year round. So fail on that part, but he really loves this tree. He's taken ownership of it. He's got all kinds of masking tape and poles. He's trying to train it to go straight up and to a single stalk. So we shall see how that goes, but it's put on a lot of new growth in the last year. I think this is 2nd year growth. Actually, this might be a 2-year-old tree now, but it's definitely put on a lot of growth, and it's been really healthy. So, and then we get over here into my little potted garden. So I'm not a big fan of sage, but I love variegation. And so I saw this sage at a store and just thought it was gorgeous. So I bought it. It's tri-star sage, try something sage. And then this guy and this guy, these are spineless prickly pears, and it's been so interesting because I got them at the same time from the same seller, planted them at the same time, same soil, same everything. And this guy started pushing new growth after about 6 months, and it's gone straight up like this. And then this guy took almost a year to push new growth, and it's growing all over like this. So I'm not really sure, but they're both really healthy and happy, and I'm hoping next year I'll get fruit. So these guys are my strawberries. So there's 2 strawberry plants on top, and then this one over here, which I think is a quinault strawberry, is just putting off runners like crazy. So I really need to clip these and root them and put them in the green stalk out front, or even on the side. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to plant this out with strawberries as well. I eat so many strawberries, it seems like a good thing. So and then this is our patio blueberry bush. It's looking so much better. I've been babying it, except for all of this shamrock that I keep trying to, this clover that I keep trying to dig out of the middle of it, but it's put on so much growth in the past year. This is its 2nd year, and it did fruit, and we got a bunch of blueberries off of it, maybe a pint, not a lot, but enough that I was happy to walk out here and pick a couple while I wandered around the yard. So I'm hoping if I keep babying it and making sure the soil stays acidic and fertilized, that we'll get even more next year. And then this guy, which I also have to continually pull clover out of, is the other nepeta I have. And I actually keep it planted. I really like to pop it in the ground out front like I do the other one, but I keep it here. It needs to be cut back like the one in the front. This one's actually even more scraggly than the one up front, but I keep it planted here because it's an aphid deterrent. And this guy, this is a tropical hibiscus, so we winter her every year, but she had aphids so bad. That's why she's only had 1 bloom so far. The spent bloom finally pulled off, but this is not, it was very, very stressed. So I put that there. Once it moved outside, and I rinsed it a couple of times and kind of kept on it and put that near it, the aphids have gone away, so that part is good. And this guy down here is an amethyst basil, I think. Either that or a regular purple basil. It's put on a bunch of growth. It was a little slow to start because it actually got washed out. The first seedlings I had in there got washed out by some rain early in the spring. And then I reseeded it, and it's now growing into this nice bushy plant. So it's probably ready for me to come out and trim some stuff off to kind of encourage it to bush out a little bit more, but it smells really good, and I love purple basil. And then this over here is my little seedling and potted plant station. This is where we move the potted plants when I fertilize them, so especially these guys, because our dogs love the espoma fertilizer we use. So I have to keep them up from their little noses or they'll dig in the dirt. But so I have some, oh look, they're starting to sprout a little bit. That's awesome. This one doesn't, oh, this one too. There's one little one right there. I planted 4 Rudbeckia seeds, 2 in each of these pots. I'm trying to get some to grow for the border up front. So those are there and they're starting to sprout. That's awesome. This is one of the artichokes I started from seed, and it's bounced back a little bit. The heat was really kind of frying it a little bit, but I've been babying it the last couple of weeks. And then this is the propagated cutting from the Artemisia up front that I'm trying to get to root a little bit, get a little bit of growth on it so I can plant it up front so it gets enough hardy growth on it before winter that it can overwinter. And this guy is actually part of my houseplant collection, but it had whiteflies really bad. It was a really pretty pink poinsettia, and it had whiteflies so bad, so I kept putting it outside to rinse it off, and then when it got warm enough, I just left it out here, and the whiteflies are gone. I've pulled all of the bad growth off of it, so it's not pink anymore, and I really thought it was going to die because of the Poinsettias don't like variation in temperature, and the temperature was crazy when I first put it outside, so I really thought it was going to die, and it's pushed all this new growth. So we'll see. I've kind of decided, as a means of my own mental health, that I can't care so much about keeping poinsettias alive year after year, that I have to treat them like annuals, because sometimes I do it every year and I buy 2 of them and I think I'm going to keep them alive, and they make it almost to Christmas, and then I either overwater them or something happens. So I've just decided I can't care anymore, and if I have to buy new ones every year, I buy new ones every year. And then these are actually the Baker Creek bush peas. I think I saw, yeah, this guy's ready to come off here, right here. But they're a sugar snap pea. So you eat them pods and all. Oh, there's another one right there. See that guy? They haven't gotten super tall yet, but they've been producing. This one looks like it's starting to fry a little bit, which is fine. There was one that I planted there that never germinated, but these 2 have actually been producing. We use them just to snack. We don't eat a lot of them. They almost never make it in the house anyway. So I like them a lot. I've got some planted in the greenhouse in the green stock up front. And really, they've done better here for us. They're a little more resistant to the heat and disease than the climbers are, because the climbers will yield for us not very long and then they fry out. So I may try and plant more of these and buy more of those for next year. And then over here, I have a variegated nasturtium. I can't remember which breed this is. The one in the front, I think, is the Alaska. So I can't remember what the other one was that I bought, but this one has started trailing just beautifully. And I bought a bunch of nasturtiums to do from seed, but this is one I bought from plants, and it also got fried like the one up front did, and this one has rebounded much, much better. So I'd like to try making, since it's got so much nice green growth on it, I'd like to try making pesto out of it. So I'm gonna give that a shot here in the coming weeks, because they're actually really spicy. I wonder what it would taste like. I had to take an interlude. The sauce I've been making, the tomatoes were done roasting, so I had to pull them out of the oven. But back to my little potted herb garden here. So I have 2 different kinds of Proven Winners basil. So this is the Amazel basil from Proven Winners. I bought this one as a plant, and then this over here is the Pesto Besto. I grew this one from seed. And both of them have actually been really good. They've been very bushy, very prolific producers, and really good flavor. And then this guy back here, this is actually a German thyme plant. So, and I love thyme so much. I love to eat it. I love the way it smells, and I love the way it looks. So they are perennial. So these 2 are both perennial. So this is a Greek oregano, and it's looking much, much better. When we got our first super hot snap, we had all this rain, and then it hit 95 for a whole week after it had been in the 60s and 70s, and this just fried. But just like mint, oregano is a weed, so it'll be fine. It's rebounded quite beautifully. I've been trying to trim some of this stuff off, but yeah, it's looking really good. It's coming back. And then this whole row right here, so we have 12 garden boxes total. We have 2 2x4 foot, and then 10 2x2 boxes that go all the way down, and they're quite deep. And we did that because of this hill, and we had to terrace them in. So in the first 2 boxes here, so I have, you can kind of see it tucked back here, I have some mint. This mint I actually grew from seed. And I keep them there for the chipmunks, because it's a good chipmunk deterrent. So I keep the marigolds are good for companion planting with tomatoes, just because they keep a lot of different pests away. They're also great at keeping the bunnies away, and we have bunnies so bad, so keep the chipmunks and bunnies away. This is a Cherokee Purple, and this is the only tomato in all of my gardens, so the house garden and at the garden plot, that I actually bought the plant for, because it's my favorite, and since this was my first year starting seeds, I wanted to make sure I was successful. So there's some that are starting to blush. We've got actually pulled quite a few tomatoes off, like that one's going to be ready here pretty soon. But they are just my favorite. They have the best flavor. They're so sweet. They make great. We put them on grilled cheeses a lot. So, and I prune them pretty well until they get to a certain point, and then now I'm just letting them go wild. So the same thing is happening with this This is a striped Roma, and these are the first ones that have blushed of any of the plants that I'm growing of these. I have 3 or 4 of them total. The rest of them are at the garden plot, but it's just gorgeous. It's like orange and red, and this one's getting pretty close. So I might let it go one day. It's pretty soft though, so it might be ready, but I can't wait to try and make sauce out of these. And this guy's actually started to get a little bit of blight. I've been trying to pull leaves off. We've just had a lot of rain in the last couple days. And then this is another mint plant. And then this guy, so this is a orange bell snack pepper. And I love these little snack peppers. They're great. They're great for dipping in things. They're also great to roast and put in recipes. I cook with them a lot. So I have an orange bell snack, and then this is actually a yellow bell, and it has green peppers on it, but none of them have started to blush just yet. So, it's got a good size one on it, and no rot spots yet. That's sometimes that happens with the first fruit. So, and it's got buds on the top. So I'm hoping now that these have all started to grow. All of the peppers got very stunted with all the cold weather we had unexpectedly. And then the lavender did not survive last year. So this is a new lavender plant, which is why it looks so pretty. I need to pull some of these off and dry them, but lavender is also a good bug deterrent. And then this is my black cherry tomato that I've pruned much heavier from last year. Last year, this was a bush that it filled the whole box. And it ended up by October when I finally ripped it out. It went from here all the way to here, and we were having to get on the backside with the stool to harvest tomatoes. But this is much more manageable, but they're really pretty. They look a lot like the Cherokee purples, just, cherry tomato size. They're very sweet and they're very delicious just to kind of eat. And then this is actually my second batch of edamame, and it looks so much healthier. The first batch I think I seeded just a little bit too early. It was too cold and I think the seeds rotted, but the second batch has done splendid. So I just harvested. There was one little baby plant down in the middle that I've actually pulled out because I harvested all of them. These set their beans and then they're kind of done. But see, oh good, these are starting to bud. I don't know if you can see these pretty little buds. So they're starting to bud. So I should get a good crop of edamame, which I'm excited about. I love edamame. And then this is my second batch of cucumbers because the first batch I think also got hit pretty hard by the weather. These are Japanese cucumbers and there's so many blooms on it. They're climbing beautifully. They're in really good shape. So I can't wait to see how those do. And then you'll probably see a video coming here in the next couple of weeks, but I've got a lot of maintenance I need to do on these beds from spring crops that I haven't pulled out yet, and I need to reseed all of them. I have different things to reseed them with. This is arugula I was letting go to seed, and it's getting pretty close to being done. So all of these have actually started to split. So I need to rip this out before and try and harvest some of the seeds. Or see if I can harvest some of the seeds. That's the thing I'm not super familiar with, so I'm excited to kind of give it a shot. And I was trying to do the same thing because we haven't been able to find seed packets for this again. We really like this lettuce. This is I want to say this is a burpee seed. And I thought it was a Fairy Morris, but I want to say it was a burpee seed. And it's called giant Caesar lettuce, and it grows like head lettuce, and it's a little softer than Caesar is. It's more like a butter lettuce. But it tastes like romaine and it makes really good salads, and it's been such a good producer. I mean, we've been eating off of this since like February, so I need to pull this out. This has started to go to seed. I'm going to see if I can let it go to seed and we'll see what that does. But then I'll pull this out. I'm going to reseed these with beans, and then I also have Armenian cucumbers from my neighbor at the garden plot, Ahmed. He gave me some of those to try, which I'm excited about. And then this is our original strawberry plant. This is 3rd year growth on this, and it's just lovely and lush, and it's been producing quite nicely this year. And what's nice about it is this canopy keeps the birds from being able to see, so I haven't been losing any of the berries to that. Oh, this guy is leaning again. This is a hibiscus plant. Oh, there's a bee right there. Let me not put my hand right in the middle of him. I need to come out. I actually brought a stake back from the garden plot with me to put in this because it's leaning quite heavily. But it's edible hibiscus, so I'm trying that for the first time this year. I have one here, and then I have 3 down at the garden plot. I like them dried. I drink hibiscus mules all the time, so I'd like to try and make some hibiscus simple syrup. And then these guys are my runner beans. So these are a green bean that binds, and they'll fill in. They're starting, once they start to go, you can kind of see them climbing. They'll go quite prolific. So I've got one climbing that way, one climbing that way, and these will yield all the way into the fall. And then these were, I think I might have missed my window on this because I think we're going to end up with a bunch of broccoli in the yard, but I was trying to let this go to seed, and it has gone to seed, and a lot of them have snapped. So this one is still trying to go to seed, so I may still get some, but I need to clean this box out. Same with these. I've pretty much given up on, you can see that one's dead. I don't think these Brussels sprouts are going to yield anything. They're not going to get any bigger, so I need to finish ripping all of that out. And then I had already cleaned, this is where our carrots were. This is our good-hearted tomato. This is a determinate tomato. It's got some nice tomatoes on it. I need to come out and get these because I'm making sauce out of all the heirloom tomatoes I have, and all the, well, basically any of the tomatoes I've harvested except the Romas. I keep the Romas separate to make a different kind of sauce. But so I need to replant this box and that box, and then at some point this week I definitely need to come out. These are our parsnips, and they are very ready to come out. So I think I'm going to pull those, blanch them, and freeze them so we can put them in soups and do them as mashed potatoes in the winter. It was really bright when I came out here. Now it's starting to really look like rain again. We've gotten like 2 inches of rain over the weekend. So these last boxes in our backyard are where all of our berries live. So all of our non-strawberries, I should say. So this guy, this is the 3rd or 4th raspberry I've tried to grow here. This is the first one that's taken. So I was originally trying to do fall golds and yellow ands in here, and I just couldn't get them to take, and I'm not really sure why. We need to come out. This is actually a blackberry bramble from the blackberry bush, but I finally found this is actually a variety that the name is gonna escape me, but I ordered it specifically because it's bred to be a southern raspberry. So it's heat tolerant, it's a little bit hardier, and it is a red raspberry. But then I also got a yellow and some of the fall gold in. So I'm going to be able to grow those, but I'm going to grow them in pots instead and see if they're a little happier there, if I can pull them in every year. And then this beast is our polar blackberry. And the canes for next year are just massive. So I'm not going to cut these back just yet, but it'll get cut back to, usually you cut them back to about 2 feet, and then they put on a little bit new growth, and then they're just gorgeous when they have all of their flowers on it. But most of the fruit's pretty much gone. We picked most of it. The birds ate a lot of it, which was fine. This is the first year it's fruited, so the fruit was pretty small, but I need to come in here and clean it all up, put a good t-shirt on. It's actually even started to cane outside the box back here, so my boyfriend's been going out and kind of trimming it on the other side. And then this is my first grapevine, and I say first because I'm going to see how this one does, and then I might get into stuff that's a little harder to grow. This is a razzmatazz grape, which is actually a grape muscadine hybrid, and they grow in the south really well. So it's put on a lot of new growth since I put it in the ground. We're going to train it to vine. It'll vine about 15 feet. This gate is here to keep the dogs from peeing on it and digging it out, because our husky likes to stand here and watch down the street and bark at people, and he kicks when he gets excited, so he digs this whole section up. So, and then the last part of our yard that I'm going to show you is actually our neighbor's property. So they have the property next to them, and I'm going to take you on a walk over there. That's where my sunflower garden is, and she lets us basically treat it like community property. So you can see we're majorly in suburbia, all of our houses. So I haven't been over here all weekend because my boyfriend and our neighbor across the street rented a skid steer, and both of them had work to do, and they were doing some leveling work to try and make things easier to mow over here, and he apparently did quite a bit of that over here. So this is her house up here, and then this is about the edge of her yard. And then her sister has started trying to help landscape it to create kind of a little bit of an oasis. So she's got this cute little bench, and then put this swing. She's got a butterfly bush over here. The problem is there's no water over here, so it's hard to plant plants unless you're gonna come over here and baby them every day and carry water. She also planted a hydrangea, and it just fried with nobody actually watering it. So, oh, I see what they did. They were up the hill up here. So they leveled all this to make it easier. And then where all these little flags are, you can kind of see the orange. We'll get closer here because the sunflowers are here. He was doing some leveling to try and make it easier to mow, because this was all kudzu a couple of years ago, and she had somebody come bush hog it, but it was wet and it just rutted. So he's been working on leveling it back out, making it kind of a nicer area. And then this I did as a no-dig garden bed. So I came out here and dug just the first inch out just to dig the weeds out and make that better. And then I planted about 50 sunflowers in here, 3 different varieties. There were Mammoth, and then I want to say Evening Sun and Russian Star, something to that effect. And I love these red ones. Oh my gosh, look at all the bees. Look at all the bees. I don't know if you can see that, but there's just so many bees all over them. But I'm trying to let them, the birds are like eating the heck out of them, but I was trying to let them go to seed so that I could just get the seeds and reseed them. But I also did come out here and just throw a bunch of seeds kind of willy-nilly to do a second round of sunflowers. It does look like some of them are starting to come up. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. He came out here with the weed whacker, and because he doesn't talk to me before he does things, our neighbor had planted some coneflowers and he totally whacked down her coneflower. That's so funny. I'm gonna have to tell him that he did that. This is why he should talk to me before he does things. But yeah, there's a couple that are still waiting to bloom from that original batch, but most of these have bloomed or are blooming, and I've been cutting the heads off of them as I'm taking them over and doing that. But yeah, I've reseeded some, trying to see if any of them have. I thought I saw one little one that has started to sprout, but maybe not yet. This is the first real rain we've had, so it wouldn't surprise me if none of them have sprouted yet. These are all the green things you see this is just a weed that seems to grow over here. It's like a Chinese evergreen, I think is what it's called. But it pulls up pretty easily because this is all just to talk about communal property. So this is our neighbor. You can see her garden boxes down here are really pretty. But she actually overbuys compost every year. That's what that pile is. So that's how we made this no dig bed. We just brought a bunch of that compost up here and threw it on top of what I had dug out. So that's what this is. So we'll just keep building it up every year, and we're just going to keep this as a sunflower patch. But this is basically the end of my garden. It makes me so happy. I love sunflowers so much. I wish it were sunny out here because, of course, they look more glorious in the sun, but they're definitely very pretty this year. And I'm so happy to get to share it with you guys. All right, guys, we've hit the end of our tour, very first tour of the backyard garden. Thank you for coming along with me on that, and we'll see you in the next one.